What's up, guys? Back with the cut test that I promised a while back. A guy that's on the forums that works for Kershaw ended up sending me a 550. It's a blim. It's an unmarked blim, but the blemish is non-recognizable pretty much. The actual blemish is a little machining mark right here on the lock bar, which they could have sold this knife new. Any other company probably would have, maybe not Spyderco, but that just shows you how much attention to detail Kershaw has. They marked this as a blim because it had a tiny little machining mark. Anyway, this blade was Rockwell tested. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the dimples from a Rockwell tester, but that little dimple by the 550, that is a dent from the Rockwell tester. It was tested in 4 spots. You can't see these, but there's 3 more spots there, and then a couple more on the tang of the knife that's covered up by the handle. So there's 2 of them that you can see right there, and then the one over here. The average was 59.5, so that's pretty much spot on for S35VN. This is S35VN. That's the whole reason I got it to test. I'm going to make you hear the autofocus. He saw my troubles with S35VN, and then he pretty much said that their knives don't have that problem. And I said, well, let me see. So he did, and I get to keep it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I know I'm about to test it. I'm thinking that this knife probably won't suffer the, let's call them malfunctions that the other ones did. This is much thicker blade stock with a much thicker edge. This is like 45 degrees inclusive, but it is sticky sharp. The initial sharpness, I mean, you could not slide your fingers along that. It just bites into your skin. It's stupid sharp. So initial sharpness is right where all the other ones are. Again, S35VN at 59.5 RC, actually tested. He had it marked on here with a Sharpie. This is about 8 feet of rope. I cut it before I measured it, and then I measured it after. It was about 8 feet. So still the same deal. 3/8 inch rope, about 8 feet of it. Just going to cut and then test sharpness. And I'm going to cut on this to save this hardwood cutting board. I've cut in it so much it's got little rope particles embedded in it. I don't want that to affect the edge, so I'm going to use a fresh part of this pine stake so that I'm not trying to eliminate variables here. So let's just go ahead and get started. These thick knives make this a workout for me. They do not cut rope very well. It takes a lot of force. It's actually hard to get through this rope, period. Having to really bear down. Go ahead and test after the first few cuts, just like I normally do. Still slicing just fine. Got a little abnormalities in there, but what doesn't at this point, other than like ZDP? Gonna go ahead and just keep pushing on. Whew. A lot of hot spots. Very, very bad on that clip right there, and very bad on my thumb. That jimping is hard on your thumb if you're cutting like this. Wow. I mean, that's very uncomfortable. It's not the knife. It's just the force it takes to get through this. It's very, 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 very uncomfortable. I could have thinned this edge out, but I didn't want to make it to where I was giving it every chance to fail. I'm giving it every chance to pass. So far it's doing really good. I mean, it's still slicing fairly cleanly, but I'm only maybe 1.5 feet into it, so whew, Wish you guys could feel this. Oh, God, that's hard. This test is going to be exhausting. Let me go ahead and test again. Sharpness is still there. I mean, really good. And I'm cutting with a heel of the blade that's doing the majority of the cutting. Still slices. It's got a hiccup in there. As long as I do my part, still slices fairly cleanly as well. I have to say that it's a pretty clean slice for, especially for the amount of pressure I'm having to exert on the rope to get it through here. That's a pretty clean cut. Gonna move to some fresh wood and continue the cutting. This is rough. Still slicing clean. You guys may think this is easy, but I can assure you with a knife this thick, this is not easy, nor is it fun. It's hard. With a knife like the Stretch or Endura, something like that with a thin blade, it's fun. This is not fun. I think I need to test sharpness again. I only slice like one piece. Still really good. No, it's not perfectly clean, but it's not wanting to grab there. Not perfectly clean by any means, but not dull either. Not even close to being dull. And zero edge deformity. Zero edge deformation, I should say. I'm having to get my man on right here. This is hard. Having to get my grown man on. Test again. Still slice worthy. I would definitely call that still slice worthy. There is nothing wrong with that edge. Good job, Kershaw. Again, a lot of this may be edge geometry too, because the problem with S35 that I was finding was edge stability. And with an edge this thick, the stability is going to be there. One thing I am noticing is that it's seemingly holding its razor edge longer than S30V normally does. By now, S30V is pretty toothed up. And this is still fairly fine. Still a fine cutting edge. Most of the cutting's being done right here. Some up here. The line share is right there in the middle. And that's where I'm trying to keep the cutting. No trickery. That was a push cut. Just no trickery, just results. Just trying to show you what's happening. This is performing really well. Even though I'm putting like all my weight into it. There we go. Getting into a groove now. I'll tell you what. That is testing me. The hot spot, got to show you that clip. Really, really uncomfortable right here. It is really, really making my hand hurt. But again, that's just because of the amount of force that I'm having to use to cut this with. I think I'll go ahead and test again. Still slicing. It's not pretty, it's not smooth. There's no denying that it's slicing. And I am using the part of the edge that's doing the cutting. I mean, you can see it in the video, I don't have to explain myself. You can clearly see what part of the knife's doing the cutting. Still slicing. Gonna flip it to a clean spot. This may be a little strange, but it's almost like it's getting easier to cut as I go. And that may be telling me that S35VN does not like a polished edge, because this is a 10,000 grit edge. And now that I'm working it and it's developing that tooth, it seems to be cutting better, a lot better. I mean, watch this slice. I was having to bow up on it before, and now I can just kind of slice like any other knife. So S35VN definitely likes the toothy edge. And it's still grabbing my skin like crazy. Won't shave, but it's still grabby. I'm gonna knock this last bit out. I mean, as you can see, it's slicing much, much better. So that's proof positive S35VN likes a toothy edge. Polishing is a no-go. That was trying to push cut. I'm gonna slice now. Like I said, it's not clean, it's not pretty, but it's still sharp. No doubt about it, it's still sharp. Yeah, it's hanging, but every knife hangs. There hasn't been a knife yet that doesn't hang on the paper at some little point. Just for comparison, normally, right now, knives will be doing this constantly. They would just be skipping off the paper and not biting into it. This is actually still biting into the paper. It has enough of an edge left to grab that paper and slice it. So that means it is definitely still sharp. Boogered that one up. Definitely still sharp. That's pretty surprising. Let me see my time, 5 minutes. If I could find a mug. Everybody likes seeing this for some reason, so people request it now. going to touch this edge up with a coffee mug. I don't know. Everybody likes to see it, so. And it'll be a good test to see how easily this is touched up. My hand's shaking from having to put that much pressure on this knife. See what she does now. Much better. Much better. So it's not a hard steel to touch up, which none of them really are. They're all pretty easy to hone. I mean, you dull your knife a little bit, grab you a coffee cup, and get to it. It's not hard. Anybody can do it. Literally, anybody can do it. And it gives you a sharp knife. Sharp all day. Very keen edge. Just barely shaving sharp. I mean, it does shave, but it's not clean. You wouldn't shave your face with it. Anyway, there you go. S35VN on this particular knife. Thick edges. Give it a thick edge. Give it a toothy edge. And it may just outperform S30V in the sense of keeping its razor edge. Overall edge retention, I would have to test more knives, but I have a couple more to test, so you're in luck. I like it. I like it in this knife. I like it in the Chris Reeve. I changed the edge geometry on that knife, and it seems to be working for me now. But if you have the ZT550, just keep a kind of a thick edge on it. I think you could go down to 38, 40, and it would work just fine. I mean, it kept its edge surprisingly long. I mean, longer than LMAX, if that says something. Vastly longer than LMAX, and LMAX has the same kind of edge geometry on it. So, don't know what that says for LMAX, but S35VN at 59.5 does all right. So, anyway, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. See you next time.